Falling asleep over 50, reduced anxiety, a comforting ramble about money, aging, and being just fine. A Quiet Mind Library Sleep Story. Chapter 1, You're Here Now. So here you are. Another day is done. Maybe it was a good day. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it felt like too much. Or maybe it felt like not enough. But whatever the shape of it, it's over now. You're not out there anymore. You're not expected to do or fix or prove. You're here. Right here. In a room that doesn't demand anything from you. In a moment where nothing is urgent. It's quiet. It's slow. And you are safe to let go, because this is your time to stop holding everything together. This is your time to drift. Not towards something. Not away from anything. Just to drift. Softly. Calmly. With no destination other than rest. So if you're listening with tired eyes, or a heart that's been heavy lately, or a head that won't stop spinning, you're in the right place. Because this story isn't about solving. It's not about changing. It's not about becoming anything more. It's just a ramble. A gentle, meandering conversation, the kind you might have with an old friend on a front porch at dusk, with the hum of crickets and a breeze through the trees, as you both realize that sometimes, it's enough to simply be. Let's begin there. Chapter 2, You've already made it through so much. You've lived long enough to know that most of life isn't dramatic. It's ordinary. Soft. Quiet. Repeated. And in those repetitions, you've survived. You've adapted. You've loved. You've hurt. You've tried again. Money has come and gone. People have come and gone. Certainty has come and gone. But somehow, you're still here. Still breathing. Still showing up. Still brushing your teeth and putting on your socks and facing the day. There's something remarkable about that. Not in the flashy, inspirational quote kind of way. But in the real, deep, slow truth of it. You have endured more than most people know. Because most people don't know how many times you smiled when you didn't feel like it. Or how often you figured it out even when no one had your back. Or how you got up again, and again, and again, even when the weight felt impossible. That's not failure. That's not weakness. That's strength. Not the kind you see in movies, but the quiet, aging kind. The kind that shows up in laugh lines and worn-out hands. The kind that doesn't need applause to be real. You've earned rest. Not because you've done enough, but because you exist. You are a human being, not a human doing. And that's more than enough. Chapter 3, Money's grip is softer than it feels. Let's talk about money, but gently. Because it's so easy to carry it like a stone in your chest. To feel like it's the one thing that determines whether you can relax. To believe that if you just had a little more, then peace would arrive. But here's the quiet truth, you've already lived decades without perfect financial certainty. And yet, you're still here. You've made mistakes. You've had windfalls and setbacks. You've overspent. You've saved. You've struggled. You've scraped by. And it all kept going. You found ways. You got creative. You made do. Somehow, despite all the numbers that never added up exactly right. You lived. That doesn't mean money isn't important. It just means it isn't everything. And more than that, it means that its power is not absolute. The older we get, the more we start to see money for what it really is, a tool. A resource. A thing, not a soul. It doesn't know you. It doesn't care for you. It doesn't define you. And slowly, you can let it go. Not all at once. But piece by piece. As you begin to understand that no number in your bank account will ever be the reason you are worthy of love, safety, or sleep. You are worthy now. Even without enough. Even without perfection. Even without fixing everything before the lights go out. Chapter 4, What if you're already okay? What if the thing you've been trying to achieve has already happened? What if your whole life has been inching towards something, and you've finally reached it, but didn't realize it because it didn't look like what you imagined? Maybe peace isn't flashy. Maybe it's not loud. Maybe it doesn't come with applause or celebration. Maybe it just arrives. Quietly. In the way you exhale. When no one needs anything from you. For a moment. Maybe okay isn't a place or a paycheck. But a feeling. That comes when you allow yourself to believe. That you don't need to earn peace anymore. That it's yours by default. That being alive is enough. That your existence is not a test. Or a race. Or a performance. It's just this. And maybe, just this, is beautiful. In its own. Tired. Ordinary. Way. Chapter 5. Aging isn't a problem to solve. It's strange how the world talks about aging. As though it's a disease to manage, a battle to win, a problem to fix. You hear it in commercials. Anti-aging. Turn back the clock. Stay young forever. As if growing older was something shameful. As if every wrinkle were a failure. As if every gray hair were a mistake. But what if aging is not a problem at all? What if it's a softening? A refining? What if it's what happens when the soul has finally had enough of the noise? And just wants to sit down and rest for a while? What if aging is your body saying, I've carried you long enough. Let's slow down now. Let's stop chasing. Let's listen to the birds instead. There is wisdom in tired bones. There is beauty in slower mornings. There is peace in admitting that you don't need to keep up anymore. You are not falling behind. You are simply becoming more yourself. More rooted. More real. And the world, though it doesn't always say it, needs more of that. More slowness. More presence. More people who have let go of the need to win and just want to be. Aging is not the opposite of value. It is the evidence of it. You have made it this far. And that deserves rest. Chapter 6. The good things no one sees. So much of life is made of quiet goodness. The kind that doesn't show up in photos. That doesn't go viral. That doesn't look impressive from the outside. Like remembering someone's name who thinks they've been forgotten. Like making a pot of tea for a friend without being asked. Like choosing not to say something mean even though it would have been easy. Like petting a dog slowly and telling it, you're a good one. No one pays you for these moments. No one celebrates them. But they matter. They add up. They ripple. They soften the hard corners of the world. You may not be rich in dollars. You may not be trending or powerful. But you've lived a life full of invisible goodness. Little kindnesses that no one else saw. And that is a wealth most people forget to count. You have given more than you know. And it's okay if no one ever noticed. The world was better for it, quietly. And tonight, as you listen and breathe and finally let the day slip from your shoulders, you can rest in the deep, solid truth that goodness doesn't need to be seen to be real. Chapter 7. Money's voice gets quieter with time. When you're younger, money shouts. It says, hurry! Get more! You're behind! You don't have enough! Work harder! Look at what they have! It's loud. Urgent. Insistent. But something happens as you grow older. Its voice starts to quiet. Not because the bills disappear, not because everything magically becomes affordable, but because you begin to see it for what it is, a voice that never meant to bring you peace. You realize, money doesn't care if you're exhausted. It doesn't know if your knees hurt. It doesn't notice that your time is running out. It just keeps whispering, more, more, more. But you've grown wiser. You've started to hear another voice. A softer one. One that says, maybe this is enough. Maybe it's okay to sit down. Maybe you don't have to chase anymore. That voice is your own. And it's always been there. It just got buried under the noise. But now, in this season, you can choose to listen to it. You can turn down the dial on money's shouting. And you can turn up the volume on rest. Not because everything is perfect, but because you've earned peace anyway. Chapter 8. You've been resourceful in ways no spreadsheet could measure. Most of the world defines success by spreadsheets. By savings goals. By net worth. by percentages and returns and compound interest. But those things don't measure the real resourcefulness of a human life. They don't measure how you've made soup out of next to nothing, how you've turned leftovers into feasts, how you've stretched $1 in ways no financial advisor could predict. They don't measure how you fixed broken things with glue and faith, how you held your family together during storms, how you found a way, even when it felt like there wasn't one. They don't measure how many times you kept going, or how many times you gave, not because you had plenty, but because you had enough to share. No spreadsheet can capture that. So when someone asks, "Are you prepared for retirement?" or "Do you have a plan?" you can smile gently and say, "I've lived. And I've made it work. And I'll keep doing that, with grace, and grit, and a little luck." And then you can rest. Because the numbers may not look like a magazine cover, but they've carried you this far. And that, dear one, is more than enough. Part 3. The Gentle Art of Letting Go. Now, imagine this. You're walking through a quiet village at the edge of a forest, the kind of place that doesn't try too hard. The rooftops sag a little, the gardens grow in wild loops, and the paths are uneven. But it's beautiful in a way only time can make beautiful. No one here is in a rush. The baker opens when he's ready, the chickens cross the road and no one asks why. This is how aging can feel when we let it. A quiet surrender to the rhythm of life. And yet, how often do we clutch? How often do we resist the looseness of it all, hoping to tighten our grip on something? Perhaps our youth, or our balance sheets, or the illusions we carried in our 30s and 40s. But here, let's try a different way of seeing it. Let's explore the idea that not only is it okay to slow down, it might be necessary. It might be the secret ingredient we've been skipping over. What if letting go of comparison, of deadlines, of financial regrets, is the actual wealth we're meant to enjoy at this stage? What you've earned may not always be in the numbers. Sometimes it's in the way you now know how to say no. In the peace of not needing to prove anything. In knowing what doesn't matter, and being brave enough to release it. Your 20s may have been about accumulating. Your 30s about establishing. Your 40s about enduring. But your 50s? Your 50s and beyond can be about shedding, not in a sad way, not in a defeatist way, but in the same way a tree sheds its leaves, because it's wise enough to know it doesn't need to hold on. Let go of the charts. Let go of the panic over retirement calculators. Let go of the belief that you must always be chasing. You've earned rest, not just physically, but emotionally. And there's more to rest than sleep. There's the restfulness of knowing that you are already enough, without needing to turn every moment into a mission. Remember that old drawer full of tangled cords and dead batteries? That drawer is your mind right now. And maybe this story is a gentle attempt to open it, and quietly say, it's okay to throw some of this stuff out. You don't need to keep everything. You don't need to fix it all. You don't need to understand why it happened the way it did. You're not in charge of everything. You're just here, listening, breathing. And that, incredibly, is enough. The currency of presence. There's a kind of currency that never gets listed on any financial statement. Presence. Stillness. Listening. These are the riches that aren't taxed, the ones that accumulate in the quiet moments. Think of the last time you watched a bird without doing anything else. Just watched it hop or peck or preen. That moment, it didn't grow your savings account, but it deposited something else into your spirit. And perhaps that's the better account to track. If you've made it to 50, you've survived more than you often give yourself credit for. You've endured heartbreaks, health scares, layoffs, family tension, boredom, and the thousand small aches of daily living. You've paid invisible taxes no one saw, the kind levied on your time, your energy, your attention. You've kept going through sleepless nights and uncertain days. Now maybe you've slowed. Maybe your back stiffens in the morning. Maybe your memory isn't as sharp. Maybe the markets feel like a language you forgot how to speak. But none of those things diminish your worth. You are not a number. You are not a bottom line. You are not a resume. You are not an outdated version of your younger self. You are still here. And maybe the most rebellious act in a world obsessed with hustle is to rest. wealth beyond measurement. There's an old man in the village, let's call him Solomon. Not rich in gold, but rich in time. He sits by the river most afternoons, tossing pebbles into the current. No one knows what he thinks about, but people say that sitting near him is calming. They say he used to be a banker in the city. Big office, long hours, important meetings. Now he wears slippers and eats fresh peaches and feeds the ducks. Someone once asked him if he misses the money. He shrugged and said, "Money was loud. This life is quiet. Quiet has more room for meaning." And maybe that's the real secret, whispered just loud enough for you to hear as you drift closer to sleep. Wealth is not just what you earn. It's also what you no longer need. Chapter 9: The Myth of Catching Up. If there's one phrase that's haunted so many of us over the years, it's this, asterisk. I need to catch up. Star. Catch up on savings. Catch up on retirement plans. Catch up on investments, knowledge, health, wisdom, routines, ambitions, expectations. It's as though life was a train. And at some point we missed our stop, and now we're chasing it through the fog, waving and panting, desperate to climb back on. But what if that whole idea is wrong? What if you're not behind? What if there's no one schedule you were ever meant to keep? The truth is, the people you think are ahead are also trying to catch something. They may have more money, but they're still anxious. They may have a bigger house, but they're still lonely. They may have stock portfolios, but they still lie awake at night, worrying about taxes and lawsuits, and their kids' inheritance and market dips. Everyone's catching up to something. But here's the quiet freedom available to you now. You can stop running. You can stop measuring your life against someone else's blueprint. You can stop trying to get there and start allowing yourself to be here. Catching up is a myth. This moment is what's real. This breath. This heartbeat. This blanket. This quiet room. This story, spoken softly just for you. Let that be enough. Chapter 10: The Quiet Retirement No One Talks About. Retirement isn't just about money. It's about rhythm. It's about no longer waking up to alarms. No longer living by other people's deadlines. It's the first time in decades you're allowed to ask yourself, what do I want to do today? And have no one else's expectations waiting. And yet, so many people arrive at retirement and feel lost, because the world never taught them how to rest. Only how to earn. Only how to hustle. Only how to define their worth by their productivity. So they sit in the stillness and mistake it for emptiness. But stillness is not emptiness. It's space. It's breathing room. It's the blank canvas you've been earning since your 20s. If today you did nothing but watch the trees out your window, you lived well. If all you managed was to take a walk and remember a song you used to love, you lived well. If all you accomplished was making tea and listening to this voice until your body softened into rest, you lived well. Let retirement be slow. Let it be boring. Let it be gentle. You are not wasting time. You are finally living in it. Chapter 11: Your Body Knows the Way. By now, your body has become a quiet expert. It knows how to heal, even if it takes a little longer. It knows how to pace itself. It knows what kind of food comforts you, what kind of silence soothes you, what kind of weather feels like home. It doesn't need to look like it did when you were younger. It just needs to be listened to. Let go of the pressure to get in shape, in the way that's shouted in magazines. You are in a shape. A real one. An earned one. These wrinkles? They're lines of survival. This softness? It's warmth. This slowness? It's wisdom. You've had a front row seat to your own aging, and still, here you are. Breathing in, breathing out, living quietly inside a vessel that's carried you through every joy and pain you've ever known. Give it credit. Give it love. Let your body rest tonight without punishment or judgment. It has done more than its share. Let it soften now. Let it exhale. Let the muscles loosen, the jaw unclench, the heart beat at its own unhurried rhythm. You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to perform. You just need to be here. In your body. In your breath. and in this peace. Chapter 12. The gentle power of not needing much. There's a hidden power in needing less. Not the kind of power that wins awards, or gets written about in books, but the quiet kind. The kind that settles into your bones when you realize you don't need to impress anyone anymore. You don't need a new car. You don't need the latest gadget. You don't need the approval of strangers. You don't need to chase what they're chasing. Because you've already figured out the secret. Most of that stuff doesn't feel like peace. It just feels like pressure. And pressure doesn't belong in your bedroom. Not now. Not tonight. This moment is yours. And it costs nothing. Just your attention. Just your willingness to be still long enough to remember that happiness never came from more. It came from letting go. From listening. From breathing. From knowing that needing less has always given you more. More room. More stillness. More ease. So let this be the richest part of your day. Not because of what you have, but because of what you don't need. Chapter 13. You're allowed to be tired. It's okay to be tired, not just sleepy, but deeply, soulfully tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of managing. Tired of smiling when you don't feel like it. Tired of solving problems that seem to keep coming. Tired of carrying what feels like too much. And here's the thing, being tired doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been strong for too long. And now it's time to rest. There's nothing wrong with slowing down. There's nothing wrong with needing a softer day. There's nothing wrong with saying, I've done enough today. I don't need to be useful right now. I just need to breathe. Your tiredness is not a flaw. It is a sign. A sign that you've given much, that you've shown up again and again, that your heart has stayed open even when it hurt. You are allowed to rest now. Without explanation, without guilt, without having to justify it. Let yourself sink into the quiet of this moment. Let the world spin without you for a while. It will. It always does. You've done enough. Now just be. Chapter 14. The gentle release of financial regret. Regret is a quiet house guest. It doesn't knock loudly. It just sits beside you at the kitchen table at night. It whispers, you should have saved more. You shouldn't have bought that. You should have known better. But you know what regret forgets? It forgets how human you were. How scared you were. How young. How hopeful. How alone. How uncertain the future always was. You made choices with what you had at the time. And you lived through the consequences. You survived. No one lives a life without financial stumbles. Even the ones who look like they planned everything perfectly. They've made mistakes too. They just don't tell stories about them. So maybe tonight, as the weight of your body softens into the bed, you can let go of one regret. Just one. Set it down beside you. Imagine it dissolving. Not because it didn't matter, but because it no longer needs to travel with you. You don't owe your past any more apologies. You've carried it long enough. This part of your journey isn't about fixing what came before. It's about forgiving it. Freeing yourself. Allowing what's ahead to feel lighter. Chapter 15. The beauty of boredom. Do you remember being bored as a child? Not overstimulated, not multitasking, not doom scrolling, just staring at the ceiling. Lying in the grass. Watching clouds form shapes. Listening to the hum of a fan. That boredom was sacred. It was a space where imagination was born. Where your nervous system could reset. Where you existed without pressure or need. And now, in adulthood, especially over 50, boredom has been rebranded as laziness. As a waste of time. As a threat to productivity. But maybe boredom is still sacred. Maybe it's not something to fear, but to return to. When you lie here now, eyes heavy, thoughts softening, you may feel a kind of boredom creeping in, and that's okay. That's good. That means you've stopped performing. That means you're finally present. Let boredom be the blanket that tucks you in. Let it wrap you in its slow, gentle quiet. You're not wasting time, you're healing in it. Chapter 16. You don't have to plan everything. We spend so much time planning. Budgets. Timelines. What-if scenarios. Backup plans. 5-year goals. But life rarely follows the script. Most of the sweetest moments you remember weren't planned. They just happened. You stumbled into them. They arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, unannounced, and left you changed. A stranger smiled. A breeze felt like a memory. A song brought back your mother's voice. A cup of coffee tasted exactly like peace. So why do we believe that every part of our future needs to be mapped out? Yes, plan what you can. But also, allow room for the unknown. For surprise. For grace. For the parts of life that don't make it onto a spreadsheet. Tonight, you don't need a plan. You don't need a chart. You don't need a solution. You need breath. You need space. You need to be held by the quiet comfort of not knowing, and still being okay. The future isn't your responsibility tonight. Rest is. Chapter 17. The miracle of just being here. You're here. Not in your memories. Not in tomorrow's to-do list. Not in someone else's expectations. You're here. In this moment. In this breath. In this body. And if you're hearing these words, then your heart is still beating. Your lungs are still filling and emptying. Your mind, though it wanders, is still yours. Do you know how miraculous that is? After all these years. After all those worries. After all that pain and joy and confusion and love and loss. You are here. And that, before money, before answers, before closure or resolution or perfection. That is enough. That is everything. So let yourself be here fully. Let yourself feel the weight of the blanket. Let your muscles melt into the bed. Let the air move in and out of you like a tide, with no urgency. There's nothing to achieve in this moment. There's only the miracle of being. And that is more than enough. Chapter 18. Nothing to prove, nowhere to be. It's strange how long we carry the idea that we still need to prove something. Even past 50. Even with a full life lived behind us. Even with gray in our hair, miles on our feet, and entire decades in our rearview mirror. The world whispers, "You're not done yet. You need to stay relevant. You need to keep producing. You need to look younger. You need to have something to show for it all." But what if you don't? What if there's nothing left to prove? What if your story doesn't need a final triumph? What if just living, breathing, loving, surviving, is already enough of a legacy? You don't need a late-stage reinvention. You don't need to conquer the internet. You don't need to match what the next generation is doing. You've done your part. And you did it well, even if no one saw all of it. Even if it wasn't written in headlines. Even if it didn't look like much from the outside. Tonight, you're allowed to take off the armor. No more posturing. No more pretending. No more proving. You're not falling behind. You're finally allowed to stand still. Chapter 19. You're not missing anything important right now. It might feel like the world is happening elsewhere. You turn on the news or scroll a little bit, and everyone seems to be doing something, buying something, starting something, selling something, planning something. But in this very moment, right now, you're not missing anything that matters. You're not missing a miracle. You're not missing your chance. You're not missing the boat. Because the only thing happening that matters most is your peace, your breath, your body gently settling into this bed, your nervous system slowly, finally letting go. Let the world spin without you for a bit. You don't need to keep track of it all. You don't need to respond to every ping, or know every headline, or fix every crisis. You don't need to be on right now. This part of your life doesn't need your productivity. It needs your permission to rest. So go ahead. Let the weight of the day fall away. Let the outside world carry on without you. It will. And your absence won't be failure. It will be proof that you've learned to let go. Chapter 20. The Quiet Math of Peace. We've spent a lifetime doing math. How much do I need? How much do I have? What if I run out? Did I wait too long? Will it be enough? But there's another kind of math. One that never gets taught in school. It's the math of peace. 1 moment of stillness equals worth more than 1,000 anxious plans. 1 good laugh equals more valuable than 10 good investments. 1 deep breath equals richer than a raise. 1 night of sleep, uninterrupted and safe, equals priceless. So tonight, let's balance a different kind of equation. Not a budget. Not a forecast. Just this: your worth equals exactly what it is right now. Not what you own. Not what you saved. Not what you lost. You are already whole. And in this quiet space, with the sounds of sleep slowly rising up around you, you are richer than you think. Chapter 21. You have time. The world tells you time is running out. That the clock is ticking. That you should have done more by now. That it's too late to feel safe. But time doesn't only move in straight lines. It folds. It slows. It returns in surprising ways. Some peace doesn't arrive until your 60s. Some love doesn't arrive until your 70s. Some forgiveness doesn't bloom until your 80s. And some rest, the deep, soul-level kind, doesn't find you until now. You are not out of time. You are in it. You have time for a new kind of life. Not a loud one. Not a flashy one. But a true one. A quiet morning routine. A familiar chair. A well-worn book. A soft cup of something warm. A walk without purpose. A nap without guilt. None of it needs a clock. It just needs your presence. And presence is the one thing no one can take from you. Chapter 22. A soft landing. If there was ever a moment for stillness, it's this one. The day is done. There's no more light to chase. No more work to finish. No more lists to complete. You've done what you could. And now comes the soft landing. Imagine yourself floating slowly downward. Like a feather. Like a dandelion seed. Like something that's been carried far enough. And has finally found the ground again. No urgency. No force. Just gravity, gently doing the work. Your thoughts don't have to be perfect. Your emotions don't have to be tidy. They can swirl for a while. Then settle like dust in a sunbeam. Because that's what rest really is, a return. To breath. To stillness. To being nothing more than a body on a bed, allowed to exist, allowed to rest, allowed to not be responsible for the world tonight. Let this be your permission. You don't need to carry it anymore. You never did. Let sleep carry you now. Epilogue. You've arrived. So here we are. At the end of the story. At the end of the noise. At the beginning of peace. You didn't have to earn this moment. You only had to survive to it. And you did. You may not be rich. You may not be young. You may not have all the answers. But you are alive. You are aware. You are softening. And you are ready. This is not the end. It's the rest. And you deserve it. So sleep, dear one. Let everything go. Let the blankets rise and fall with your breath. Let your thoughts dissolve into nothing. You are enough. You've always been enough. You'll always be enough. Good night.